father of Hannah Smith, the teenager who killed herself after being cyberbullied, and that is what we are going to talk about now. Joining me in the studio, Vicky Beeching. Vicky is an internet ethics researcher, and this is the story. We've seen this awful interview this morning, these poor parents having to talk about all of this. What can parents do to protect their children online?
It is terrifying, isn't it? You hear this story and I know parents would instantly think of probably the many hours their kids spend in their bedroom online. My practical advice would be for parents to realise we're in the middle of a culture shift that really is as significant as the Industrial Revolution. So we're living through the digital revolution, and any revolution will create a generation gap. And it means that those who lived before the internet and those who are being raised now with the internet as the norm are living in very different worlds. And parents need to really dive into this new world, not to write it off as inconsequential,
Sure.
or say just switch that thing off.
Parents you're aiming that at. That has to be politicians and makers as well. And so much of this has to be about responsibility from abusers, from users, from operators, from parents, from politicians. How do we join all of that up and maybe just sort of formalise it, is what I'm trying to say?
I think we need to identify the fact that it is very real, and one of the problems, and we've seen it even in the way politicians and some ethicists speak about the internet. They say that it's not real. There's the real world, and then there's what happens online. Even Twitter, the statement we had last week about trolling, the general manager of Twitter said women shouldn't be abused in the real world and they shouldn't be abused online.
Yeah.
We need to realise it is a real world, it's real people, and it has very real consequences, like in the case of Hannah Smith. So when we start seeing virtual as real online, I think that actually is a big breakthrough.
But until, I mean, the Prime Minister spoke today and he said there should not be a difference between online and offline, and these abusers and the operators of these sites have got to come to realise that. But that needs, I suppose, action to be taken, action in the courts, and we may see that as a result of the high-profile abuse of women in the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely, and that's the only good really that's come out. Many women, including myself, actually have been quite heavily trolled after the banknotes campaign, and the good coming out of this is the realisation that people online who feel invisible, hiding behind this anonymity, actually do have to pay the price. They do have to face the consequences. They can feel like they don't, because the virtual world takes away those consequences.
But Vicky,
but it actually doesn't in real life.
How shocking was that? Because I mean, if it is something which I don't know how you would describe it, but if you're talking about what women would we like to see on the back of our currency, on the back of our notes, you see, I would see that as a competition. Who can we think about? Who should it be? The Queen? Should it be an actress? Should it be a politician?
It's a positive experiment, right?
I wonder how anyone could take anything negative from that.
To the degree. I mean, even if someone says, "Oh, this is ridiculous. Should we not just have sports stars?" But why then why is this really so much
It is quite
anger?
shocking. We were shocked. We thought it was a fairly no-brainer kind of, obviously we want gender representation on a banknote. But I think it's actually more about women having a say, wanting to stick their head above the parapet. And I thought that kind of misogyny was dead. But it really has shocked us, I think, that these attitudes towards women who want to have a message, who want to have a public profile.
It's just a lack of tolerance all round, because if you take a speciality, it doesn't matter what that speciality is, people that own pets, people who ride bikes, people who like to go walking on a Sunday, whatever it happens to be, and their profiles are all kind and caring and whatever, and their language is horrible.
It is, an anonymous behaviour online has given people a bravado to say things they'd never say face to face. They wouldn't come and say it to you in the pub, but they hide behind these fake profiles, and what we're seeing now in the media is that...
Some don't hide behind fake profiles and they still say it.
Well, true, but I think that sense of anonymity and the sense of being one step removed, even if it's really your photo and your name, you put a screen in the middle and they think they can say things and not have to pay the consequences.
So should the websites be doing more in that case to say, right, we know who you are, we've got your email address, should there be more accountability from that point of view?
Well, it's tricky because anonymity in this age can actually be used for a lot of good. You think about people in politically oppressed countries, they can use anonymous profiles to actually get their message out, to launch grassroots uprisings, or people who are victims of domestic abuse. They can go online anonymously, seek help. So anonymity in itself is not to blame. That can actually be harnessed for great good. So we need to be careful that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Vicky, we can all sit and complain and moan and groan about this and say it's awful, and it is awful. But as an internet ethics researcher, Do you see anything positive that we can finish on? Is there a realization happening somewhere? Are we moving in the right direction in any area?
Oh gosh, we're moving in totally the right direction. We need to remember, and this is a final thought for people, technology is just a tool in our hands. We're given so many different technological tools. Think about the car, for example. You know, the car can accomplish great good. It can also be used to damage people. We can't blame the technology per se. We can't look at these networks and say social media is causing these evils. The tool is in our hands, and the moral responsibility is on us to rise to the occasion and use these networks well.
Very interesting to hear from you. Thank you very much indeed. That's Vicky Beeching. Here's Charlie Thomas, and he's got the